All right, this is Arab Talk on KPOO San Francisco, 89.5 FM. This is Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal. I'm Jess Jamal.
And this is Jamal Dejani.
And again today, what we're doing is we're speaking with Jamal live from some undisclosed location in the Greek Isles. We won't disclose his actual location, but through the wonders of technology and Skype, we're able to have Jamal join us on another episode of Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal. Well, Jamal, I know that you're in Europe, but actually a lot, as usual, is happening here while you're away. I think the big news that we want to talk about today is the unfolding and completely ongoing, disgusting evolution of the next generation of the Trump Republican racist narrative. As you know, he has been speaking about the four freshman congresswomen of color, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, AOC, and Ayanna Pressley, and basically has been spewing lots of narratives, but the most recent one that has been catching fire is the one that these women, if they don't like America, they can just go back to where they came from. Now we know that that's a fundamentally old racist trope that has been used to tag and identify lots of different communities historically here in the United States and Europe. But I will tell you, Jamal, the most interesting thing from my standpoint is how much it's catching on, both in terms of its criticism, but also in terms of the support that Trump continues to get from the Republican Party. I wonder how the European press has taken to this so far.
Well, the Trump roadshow made its way all over the media here. So this is probably headline news. I've been monitoring different outlets from the BBC, the local, of course, press right here in Greece, France, other outlets to see how is this being covered. And I have to say it is a wall-to-wall coverage.
Oh, really?
And you can't open an outlet, look at an outlet or open a newspaper without seeing Trump said this and Trump said that. And of course, it's all, reflecting on the recent racist attack. And then of course today, I mean, there is the time zone, the difference between us and Washington, 7 hours, and San Francisco, 10 hours. But then, first thing I read today was, and then I watched it, and thank God for the internet, I watched it online to see what's going on with Trump's trip to North Carolina, and that clip when the crowd, after, he started, talking about Ilhan Omar, and the crowd went all in unison singing "Send Her Back."
Send her back.
I think I've seen this 100 times already.
Yeah.
From different angles, so this is the discussion. So it is as big of a story as it is in the United States.
But how is the response? Though? I'm curious about the European response, because I have to tell you, in the United States, there is still, when you hear what people like Lindsey Graham and Kevin McCarthy and Mitch McConnell and the bulk of the Republican leadership have been saying, they have not condemned these statements that Trump has been saying. They have been full-throated support of these statements. So we have talked about in Europe how there is
the mayor of London condemned Trump. This has been headline news.
Right. But
I don't know if you saw that.
Yeah, I did. Yeah. But what about the rest of Europe? Has there been any split, how shall I say, split opinion about this?
Well, I mean, the way it has been covered, it's kind of like, here's another thing of Trump's theatrics. Trump's persona and remarks, anti-immigrant remarks, calling countries, you know what, from Africa and so forth. They've been covered before. So I would say there is a kind of, it's not, I wouldn't say it has been covered like people are shocked or something like this. It's just like, oh, here is something new from this crazy president of the United States, and the newest thing is this. Depends who you talk to, but I don't think, I mean, even though there is a wave of conservatism and so forth going on in Europe, but I don't think you see many supporters to what he has been doing, because remember, Trump himself has insulted Europeans. He has insulted the Prime Minister of England. He has insulted the President of France. So he's not loved.
Right.
People actually are surprised because I think they just don't expect it on this level from a president of the United States to kind of stoop that low to say the things that he has been saying. And of course, there are other stories that have been covered. His scandals with the accusers, some of the accusers who have accused him of grabbing them or raping them and so forth. Those are also big news here.
Right.
So he has hit not only the news, but he has hit the gossip magazines big time.
Right. So I want to talk about two things. I want to talk about the actual statements, and then I want to talk about the political aspect and the political strategy and the political implications of it for this country, for the United States. Now, I could tell you that I have heard that comment. I mean, I wish if I had a nickel for every time someone said that to me here in the United States. And granted, I was born in a foreign territory called Detroit, Michigan. Some people consider Detroit, occupied Detroit, and foreign territory. But this thing, go back to your country, go back to where you belong, is a classic racist rant that has been used, and continues to be used for centuries now in the United States, ever since the United States, had its independence. That there's a long history of this statement and this trope. The interesting thing is that it does seem, if you look at what has happened, that a line has been crossed. Yes, people say this kind of thing, but the President of the United States, irrespective of how disturbed he may be, when he gets on his bully pulpit and says this to 4 women of color and gives license to be able to tell these 4 American citizens, 4 duly elected members of the Congress, the People's House, that they can leave just because they're critical of U.S. policy, but they can leave and go back to their country, in many ways has crossed a fundamental line that I think Trump hasn't even ever crossed before. This is a new level of encroachment on the civility of space in the United States, where people of any background should be allowed, according to the First Amendment, criticize and say whatever they wish. But it seems like brown women who are elected to the Congress, Jamal, are being held to a different standard.
Well, he's been pushing the envelope, Jess, right? And testing the ground. Not a single Republican has condemned him except for Jason Amash and I think somebody else. But Jason Amash actually,
he's an independent.
He left the Republican Party. But what he said, I mean, it's very easy just to Google what he said. Go back to where you came from. Go back to Africa. There is just put our listeners should just Google that. They'll see images of white supremacists in the 60s and in the 50s and so forth.
That's
holding sign and probably KKK, Klansmen and so forth, holding signs. I posted a picture right on my page, on my Facebook page. Go back to Africa, Negroes. That's a sign that was held in the 60s in rallies in the face of our brothers and sisters in the African American community. And so when he says this, and then you're talking about Ilhan Omar from Somalia, she's from Africa. Sister Pressley, she's African American. Rashida Tlaib, she's a woman of color, Palestinian American. AOC from the Bronx originally, her family came from Puerto Rico, she's a Latina. The four of them, as you said, four female lawmakers. The four of them are persons of color. The four, just like everyone else in the United States, everyone has roots somewhere else, but to target only them, it brings back memory to Klansmen,
right,
white supremacists of the 50s and 60s that we thought after MLK and Malcolm X and the whole civil rights movement, they were part of the yesteryears and history where apparently they have not been.
Well,
and I've actually had a conversation today with a friend who is from the United States, who happens to be here from the East Coast, from the New York area. And he was talking, he was kind of like, a little bit like, what's going on? I mean, it's kind of embarrassing to our image and so forth. And I said, I mean, this is the only conclusion. And you and I talked about this multiple times. The bigots are coming out of the woodwork.
Yeah.
And racism has not disappeared. It has been latent. This is it. That's the only explanation that I can have. It has, throughout the years, the Obama years, wherever, you'll always have racists. We've never seen them in this concentration. And racism has been latent, and it needed Donald Trump to unleash it. And he unleashed it.
Yeah, he unleashed it. You're exactly right. But in addition to unleashing it, he has codified it in a way, Jamal, to make it part of our everyday experience, giving permission to the previously latent and maybe not so latent but hidden racists who are, many in this country. It gives them permission and license to come out of the closet, to be bold about it, to be free about it, and to feel proud of their racist roots. It creates an atmosphere, Jamal, and this is exactly, I don't want to too quickly go to the political analysis, but it's clear that the Trump strategy right now, he needs a certain number of votes. He has 37% of the United States votes, solid, 37, 38, 39, and he can't exactly win even in the electoral community, in the electoral college that way. He needs a few more percentage points. His bet, Jamal, is that there are a lot more people who believe what he believes, and he's looking for those votes. And you and I have said this before. When people say this is not the United States, we have to give them the painful answer. Yes, it is. This is the United States. To say that this doesn't represent the United States, or even doesn't represent a large majority of people in the United States, we have to come now to the painful reality and conclusion is that, yes, it does. 37 to 39% of Americans not only support Trump, but they are the ones yelling yesterday, Jamal, send her home. Send her home. Speaking about an American citizen who has the First Amendment right as well as her constitutional right, Ilhan Omar, as a lawmaker, as a congresswoman, to speak about what her constituency, is concerned about. Healthcare, foreign policy, things like that. And yet she is told to go home. So I have a question for you, Jamal. How many times have you heard someone say to a white person, go back to your country?
I mean,
do you ever
usually
hear that?
Targets immigrants and people of color.
Yeah, full stop.
We don't have to read between the lines.
There's no line to read between.
There is no reading, and he has targeted, like I said, four congresswomen. They're all, people of color. And of course, he's focusing on Ilhan Omar because she's the only one who was born outside the United States, even though she came here when she was 12 years old. But he has been focusing on her. He has been making up stories. There is a whole fact check thing,
right,
just about, from like she's fond of Al Qaeda. He says things like this,
right,
which is total nonsense. She's actually very critical of terrorism, and then so he says things like this, and people believe him. He distorts the fact. There's a whole on terrorism, and I'm looking at my list that I've kind of checked on terrorism. What Trump said, Representative Omar blamed the United States for the terrorist attacks on our country. She has never said this.
Never.
Ever. Never. So he takes her words out of context, and then he just like throws that out there, and everybody now is saying that she's ISIS, she's Al Qaeda, which basically telling people to assassinate her. I have to say this: when you are fanning the flames and you're making such enormous accusations, you're putting her life. He's putting the life of a congresswoman elected by the people. All four of them. Then he also distorts the fact. He talks about her marriage. And like he's the last person should be talking about people's marriage. So he, and you know that. And I don't like to even get there and stoop to his level. So he said that she's married to her brother, which is, we know this was a rumor made by a white supremacist and so forth. And so he pretends
people who did the birther movement.
There is a story about this, but then he again tries to kind of fan the flame of that accusation and that
right.
rumor. Another fact checker. Trump said that she smeared U.S. service members involved in Black Hawk Down. She never said that, So he was referring to a tweet from 2017 that resurfaced for Omar. The tweet is Omar's response to a person who, in light of a bomb attack that killed more than 230 people in Somalia, argued that the worst terrorist attack in the country was when 19 Americans died in combat during the 90s. So he twists that whole story and says what he says. He also says that she's full of praise to the ISIS, the Islamic State. She pleaded. This is what Trump said. I mean, I'm not making this up. People should actually look this up. She pleaded for compassion for ISIS recruits attempting to join the terrorist organization. That's something that he said. So he again leaves it out of context, in which she was referring to a letter Omar sent to a Minnesota judge in 2016, pleading that he take a restorative approach to justice when sentencing 6 young men who were charged with plans to join ISIS. The judge sentenced the men to more than 30 years in prison. On Venezuela, I mean, I can go on and on about the things that she says, and then, for whatever reason, I mean, he has basically, he has targeted. To me, number one, I feel he's threatened. He's threatened by outspoken women, and the 4 representatives are outspoken. But I feel he's targeting and focusing on Ilhan Omar because he feels she is the weakest out of the 4 because she was not born in this country. She's a naturalized citizen. Therefore, he can up the ante.
Sure.
She's also a Muslim woman who wears the hijab, so she's obviously on camera. Everyone looks at her. She doesn't have to talk about her identity. She's black, so people see the racists. They see a black woman, outspoken woman, wearing a hijab, meaning she's a Muslim, and they focus on her. So he's playing that. Then after that, of course, he hates AOC because she called him on many things, and she's from New York. She's from the Bronx. This is where his father was born. He forgets his roots.
Right. Now, I think that analysis is correct, Jamal, but I want to add another point that both Donald Trump, Lindsey Graham, and I think Mitch McConnell said. So this is going to get into the analysis and to another deeper kind of clinical and a political analysis, which is Donald Trump says not only are he turned the tables, right? He's because they said what he said was racist. So what Donald Trump says, no, they're racist against me. They're racist against America for criticizing. And then this is my favorite. Then Donald Trump says, not only do they hate America, they hate Israel. So that connection, Jamal, they hate America.
How many times did he say that in one sentence?
Right. So they hate America and they hate Israel. Lindsey Graham was foaming at the mouth on an interview with Fox News saying, they hate Israel. So what we're seeing, Jamal, is kind of a coming together of the racist, divisive, kind of leaning toward the white nationalist, fascistic, direction that Trump wants to take the Republican Party with the policies of the state of Israel. And, they think that this is a positive political statement. They hate Israel just like they hate the United States, when in fact, I think Trump and Lindsey Graham and Mitch McConnell are pointing to a very painful truth about, Israeli apartheid policies. But I think that's another element, because they're always saying that now. Well, they hate Israel. And, that conflation, Jamal, between having critical analysis of U.S. foreign policy on the question of Palestine being equated with, quote, hating Israel. So we see that narrative coming out, being thrown at especially Ilhan.
So I'll get back to the hate Israel part, but let's remind our listeners of what Lindsey Graham has said about Donald Trump.
That's a good place
to
start. He
said Donald Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. Look it up, folks.
Well,
ladies and gentlemen,
during the campaign. During the campaign.
This is what the hypocrite Senator Lindsey Graham said before, and now his best buddies. I repeat that. And he was right. I mean, he was right, because maybe he actually read in the tea leaves of what's going to happen with if Donald Trump got elected. He said Donald Trump is a race-baiting, xenophobic, religious bigot. Now he's defending his bigotry. He's saying that, no, this is not religious, when he's saying, they can go back to their country. And they hate Israel. That's the hate Israel part. We know why. Because we know Lindsey Graham is one of the biggest recipients of foreign aid, of aid from AIPAC supporters.
Yeah.
And he has made tons of trips, and he's buddies with Benjamin Netanyahu. But what I'm saying is, okay, fine, he can throw this. These four congresswomen, they can say anything. They can criticize the United States. They can criticize our greatest allies in Europe. They can say anything, but God forbid they say anything about Israel. What does this have to do with our conversation? What does it have to do, whether they support or not support Israel, has to do with what's happening in the United States.
That's exactly right.
And to kind of throw that in, we're talking about racism, we're talking about the rise of white supremacy, we're talking about people who are chanting, the Jews are going to replace us, and Donald Trump pretends nothing has been said.
They're good people.
All these, they're good people and whatever. And now all of a sudden saying, oh, these guys hate Israel, And it's just, don't they look at themselves in the mirror? And aside from the thing, maybe Lindsey Graham, has a short-term memory. He should remember his own words. But as I said, and I'll call that, it's total hypocrisy that he has done a 180 now, and he has become a defender. And we've seen this from the Republican Party. We've seen it. Maybe they get some spine after they leave, Like with Ryan, he remained very silent. He was, remember,
Right.
Representative Ryan, and he was critical of Donald Trump. Then he became best buddy, and now he left, and now he's now saying all kinds of things, criticizing him. And then, of course, Donald Trump said this guy was an idiot, basically.
So you're listening to KPOO in San Francisco. We're at 89.5 FM. This is Arab Talk with Jess and Jamal on KPOO, and we're speaking with Jamal live from somewhere in the Aegean, somewhere in the Greek Isles at an undisclosed location. We're doing that to protect his, out of, security concerns, obviously, Jamal. We're worried about you. But the other issue, because they think, Jamal, that this is a political calculation to garner support of AIPAC supporters by talking about how these women hate Israel. But really what they're doing, Jamal, is drawing a direct linkage between racist, xenophobic, apartheid, right-wing, white supremacy ideology here in the United States and the foundational elements of the Israeli government and how they are inextricably linked. I mean, it's kind of obvious that they're drawing a line in the sand now in terms of upcoming elections. And what I found interesting, Jamal, is Ilhan Omar, she's one tough person. Do you know what she did today? She introduced a bill today reaffirming that it's okay to use the BDS as a technique to voice criticism of Israel. So
it is
the
First Amendment,
Of course, but it's not just First Amendment. I mean, of course it is. And of course it's okay to criticize Israel. And of course it's okay to use BDS. But I think what Ilhan Omar is doing, Jamal, is basically saying, she's going toe-to-toe with a bully. So when you find a bully on the playground, if you don't stand up to that bully, then that's bad news for you. So one day after Ilhan Omar is told by Donald Trump to go back to where she came and how she hates Israel, she reintroduces a bill into the Congress basically saying it is within our First Amendment right to not only criticize Israel, but to use appropriate nonviolent techniques to draw attention to Israel's policies against Palestinians in Palestine. So I felt
not just Israel, but any country that violates human rights around the world, we have the right to boycott them. You can't take this away from citizens of this country. But here is something she actually tweeted also today, quoting from Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
And she put this tweet, and she said, "You may shoot me with your words, you may cut me with your eyes, you may kill me with your hatefulness, but still, like air, I'll rise." And this is the words of Maya Angelou, and Ilhan Omar tweeted this today.
It's beautiful, it's strong, and it's totally appropriate. So, but I have some bad news for you, Jamal.
What is it?
Unfortunately, one of my predictions for 2019, as you know, is that I still think that there's the real possibility that Donald Trump could be reelected for another 4 years. And in spite of all of this racist, hate, divisive, dividing this country and supporting white supremacy just like to the max, Make America White Again, MAGA, he has increased, I think, his chances of reelection. And we have to face the very painful reality that this is exactly what part of this country is about. This is going to make it easier for people. Actually, and I know this sounds weird, this is going to actually make it easier for certain people to vote for Donald Trump now.
Well, I mean, maybe. Obviously, he's playing to his base.
And beyond.
And beyond. He's also confusing people. One day he'll come, I was again, reading today in the New York Times, after the morning after the chant, send her back. And of course, he remained silent, let the crowd keep chanting. Today, he said, I wasn't happy with it. I disagreed with it. Of course, he didn't. He told reporters during a photo session in the Oval Office this morning. So his disavowal of the chants came after, some Republicans said something, criticized it, but sought to put distance between the president and the racist chants. Like, for example, this is what Kevin McCarthy, he's the House Republican leader, said, told reporters, those chants have no place in our party or our country.
Yeah. But
so,
Jamal, listen, they don't criticize Trump. They're criticizing Trump supporters who are yelling these things. Kevin McCarthy, Mitch McConnell, Lindsey Graham, the whole bunch of them are, if there's something more spineless than being called spineless, that's where they're at right now. They are refusing to speak to the absolute antithesis of what the Constitution, what protection of minority rights is about, our ability to speak, our ability to criticize. That's the whole point of the way our constitutional democracy was formed in the first place. But I guess if you're a woman, Jamal, and you happen to be a woman of color and you happen to be African or African American or Latina or Palestinian, and you're elected to Congress, that boys' club, I guess, is not ready for you quite yet.
Yeah, it's again, those chants a reminder of lock her up. When this was one of Trump's favorites in lock 2016.
Her up, send her back, send her home. It's the same.
And I think you said something very important, because maybe you have your intuition. I hate to say might be correct, and I actually dread it might be correct that he'll get reelected. I believe all these politicians, especially the Republicans, who are, in my opinion, a bunch of cowards and hypocrites, they are afraid of Donald Trump. They are so afraid of him that they feel like, he's going to get reelected, and he's very vengeful, as we all have seen.
Right.
That they remain silent, and some of them actually think the same way that he thinks. But others, they might be decent people, or it's against their grain, this racism part, but they remain silent because they don't want to say anything. They don't want to get their heads chopped off, basically, politically speaking, by him.
So, by the way, Jamal, Lindsey Graham is up for re-election, another election, 2020, at the same time that Donald Trump will be running again. So is Kevin McCarthy. So is Mitch McConnell. So, but as I said before, Jamal, when you don't stand up to a bully, the bully gets much worse. So I believe that we're headed for a deeply problematic next couple of months. I have to tell you that I legitimately worry for the safety of those 4 congresswomen. I worry about AOC. I worry about Ilhan Omar, Ayanna Pressley, Rashida Tlaib. I worry about their safety, because this is the kind of messaging coming from the president that seeps into the minds of white supremacists that may give them license to do harm. And I'm very worried for their safety.
And we've seen examples of this. This is not, something new with the, the guy that they arrested in Florida, and all the threats, and all it needs is one kook. You don't need too many of them.
Right. Hey, Jamal, not that I want to go away from this, but we're into the second part of the show, and there's a local story for you that I'd like you to comment on, and it happened in Crete yesterday. 12 Israeli.
Cyprus, Jess.
Oh, Cyprus? It wasn't Crete, it was
Yes.
Cyprus. Okay. In Cyprus, 12 Israeli boys, young men, were arrested for raping I think an 18-year-old British national on the island of Cyprus. They got arrested. It's kind of big news. It didn't make a lot of the headlines here in the States. I wonder if you have any more insight into that story.
Well, definitely it is a shocking news because Cyprus is next door. It's a small neighborhood here. It's just Cyprus is so close to Greece, and this is 12 Israelis who are now in custody on suspicion of alleged, I use the word alleged for now, rape of a 19-year-old British tourist. 3 of them have confessed to having sex with her, but they said it's consensual. And then, of course, she was saying that she was held down by a bunch of them. And the police this morning, along with the medical examiner, said that they found bruises and scratches on the woman to kind of support her story. Israel flew lawyers into the small island of Cyprus, and their foreign, ministry is involved, and so they're under investigation. But definitely, it's a big story around here, and there are similar stories in a way that I was talking to people where they've had issues with Israeli tourists, from attacking people to not paying their bills to wrecking rooms in hotels. And these guys, they're all kind of like the age before they go into the army. So it's kind of like they go, there are the two, they're just going on a rampage or whatever. And we've seen incidents like this, and we've seen incidents after they get discharged.
Right.
So people have been talking about this because there were several incidents, not as big as this story, where now you have basically a young girl who was gang raped, basically, and it's making a lot of noise around here.
Okay, and we will probably follow up with that story because, again, it's not making much, if any, headlines here in the States. Maybe we could just, for a minute, we spoke a little bit last week about Jeffrey Epstein. We have some news about Jeffrey Epstein. His lawyers today in a court in New York attempted to convince the judge to release Jeffrey Epstein on released on bail on home custody, that he could be trusted to be left at home. He was not a flight risk, and despite the fact that he had an Austrian passport which listed his residence as being Saudi Arabia, and a fake, and all these other fake details. And,
oh boy, I didn't know that Epstein was so old, Jess. This is news to me.
I know I kind of missed that part, that Epstein is a Saudi, but the judge decided instead to deny Jeffrey Epstein bail. He is continuing to be remanded into custody until his trial, which could be months from now. But I wanted to draw your attention to how Jeffrey Epstein got his start as a money manager was by managing the funds of Les Wexner, who is actually the head of L Brands, and they're a big mega corporation that handles things like Victoria's Secrets and other things. If you do just a little digging, Jamal, and I'm not talking about a lot of research, but Les Wexner turns out to be one of the biggest supporters of settlements, has supported settlements, is a good friend of Benjamin Netanyahu, as well as Ehud Barak. And the news that's been kind of circulating is that once the judge releases the documents from the 2009 trial of Jeffrey Epstein, when he got 13 months of basically, mild incarceration at best, where he was allowed to leave every day, that some big name politicians are going to be named in that document that it was sealed. But I do think it's kind of interesting that Jeffrey Epstein got his start and his introduction to money management and his extreme wealth through his decades-long association with Les Wexner, a devoted and devout and committed person to illegal settlements in the West Bank.
Well, I mean, it makes a lot of sense because we're seeing this kind of circle coming, I mean, I think it's kind of coming apart now, seeing the connection between Trump's men who are handling the Middle East. They all have connections to the settlements.
Yes.
From the U.S. ambassador in Israel to his son-in-law, Jared Kushner. The relationship goes back to his father, to his envoy. His envoy is also connected to this. Both, of course, of them were former Trump lawyers. But talking about his connection also to Epstein, if you remember, just a few days ago when, Epstein came back into the news, Trump said that he wasn't a big fan of the accused sex trafficker Epstein. This was on record just a few days ago.
Right.
So guess what? A video now,
right.
I've been looking at it, has surfaced showing Trump and Jeffrey Epstein laughing and discussing women's looks at the 1992 Mar-a-Lago party.
Right. I saw that video.
So we're going way back. Like again, he said that he wasn't a big fan. He's seen chatting and laughing with him in 1992 at the Mar-a-Lago resort. This is a footage that was recently uncovered by NBC Archives just yesterday. I was watching it on the internet.
What's your impression? What's your impression after watching it?
Well, I mean, it's there. It kind of reminded me of the grab them by the whatever.
Yeah,
video, Trump, and then this thing surfaces as another thing. They're chatting, they're best buddies. Just 2 days ago, he said he wasn't a big fan of him. So they're like big buddies in 1992 partying. The tape appears to show Trump and Epstein discussing women's appearances at the party, in Mar-a-Lago, which, by the way, Donald Trump now calls his winter White House, if you remember. So that's the party. The footage was shot for a piece of Trump's newly divorced lifestyle on Faith's Daniels talk show, A Closer Look. In the video, Trump is seen dancing closely with women, many of whom were cheerleaders of the Buffalo Bills.
I didn't know the Buffalo Bills had cheerleaders, but it's kind of cold in Buffalo, but okay.
And he's also seen in the video pointing to the direction of women dancing and telling Epstein she's hot.
Okay.
This is, like I said, like the old, so just 2 days ago, he said, I don't know this guy. Well, he didn't say that, but he said he wasn't a big fan of him.
Right.
Now, all of a sudden, they were best buddies in 1992. They're partying together, and they're having, this whole thing.
Well,
about...
I think a couple of things are going to happen in the next few weeks, Jamal, if these sealed records are...
Well, here's another thing I just wanted to add this, because I like when you dig further. This is the nice thing about research, which Trump seems to forget, that you can research things. He says something and then he changes his story and thinks everyone is an idiot around him. So another thing, 2002, again, I'm talking about his hypocrisy. He's in an interview in New York Magazine talking about Jeffrey Epstein, and he said, "Have known Jeff for 15 years. Terrific guy. He's a lot of fun to be with. It's even said that he likes beautiful women as much as I do, and many of them are on the younger side."
Uh-oh.
Am I making this up? No. Just research it. Use 2002 Trump, Jeffrey Epstein. You'll find that in an interview in New York Magazine.
Well,
now
that seems pretty clear, actually.
So now we have the video of the 1992 party in Mar-a-Lago. 2 days or few days ago, Trump says he's not a big fan of him, kind of distance himself from him. This is very typical. You see, this is again very typical with Donald Trump. You can find all kinds of things with him, all his kind of dubious, friends, and when something happens to any of his friends, he'll throw them under the bus.
Yeah.
They should remember that. That's why Lindsey Graham should remember this.
Eventually, he's going to get thrown
Graham,
under the bus.
Donald Trump is going to chew him and spit him out.
That's right.
You mark my words.
Well, keeping in line with the Epstein story, Jamal, it looks like some of these documents are going to get released. They were, Dershowitz wants these documents sealed.
Just to say, I'm telling you, sometimes I look at these things and I think we are watching a soap opera.
No,
Dershowitz goes on in an interview and said, "Yeah, I was in Epstein's home. I got a massage. I have to admit.
I kept my clothes on.
I kept my clothes on. No, I stayed in my underwear. And the person who gave me a massage wasn't a minor. And basically, I don't like massages, but I had one anyways.
How did Dershowitz know she wasn't a minor? Did he check her ID? I'm not sure.
He has been, as you know, accused by someone that he she was passed to him by Epstein when she was 16 years old.
Right. Well,
so
I think
you're scratching the tip of the iceberg.
Right. And I think Alan Dershowitz, Les Wexner, Ehud Barak, ex-prime minister of Israel. There's a lot of very nervous people right now, Jamal, if these records get released. I want to just, we have time for one more quick discussion. One of the people that you have the greatest respect for gave a very interesting interview yesterday, Mr. Jason Greenblatt, who's working closely with Jared Kushner. He was pressed on an interview to kind of discuss the Bahrain meeting and kind of more details of the deal of the century. Couple of things I want to draw your attention to, Jamal. When the interviewer asked him why basically he kept referring to neighborhoods instead of settlements, he said he believed that the word settlements or occupied territory wasn't helpful and that he prefers the term disputed neighborhoods. And rather than the West Bank, Mr. Greenblatt prefers the terms Judea and Samaria. So it seems like Mr. Greenblatt, Jamal, is really, epitomizes, if you will, the ability of what the United States likes to call an honest, fair broker. Now, Greenblatt did actually admit to the fact that no Palestinians of any, standing came to Bahrain. He found that disappointing, but he said the 60-page document would be forthcoming depending on the, direction of the Israeli snap elections that are going to happen sometime in the fall. And lastly, I'd like to tell you that the interviewer asked Mr. Greenblatt a very good question, Jamal. She asked, well, what rights do the Palestinians have? Are they entitled to the same rights as Israelis or anybody else? He refused to answer the question. He said, well, I don't like to divulge information before the 60-page document comes out, but we shall see, something like that. He didn't even bring himself to lie about, the idea that somehow Palestinians have rights too. He refused to answer the question. So it gives you kind of an idea what's in the deal of the century that's going to be released.
Well, let me guess where he got his talking points from about the settlements and neighborhoods. And this terminology was created. It's not too new, Jess, where the Israelis try to confuse the word about the illegal colonial settlements and by calling them neighborhoods and trying to force. They started this campaign trying to force reporters of the New York Times and the Washington Post, whatever, to change the use of settlements into neighborhoods. That this goes way back to the time of Itzhak Shamir, the former prime minister. Benjamin Netanyahu is a disciple of Itzhak Shamir, who basically he set up the whole concept of spending 10 years talking about peace and making facts on the ground. This was his strategy.
Right.
Strategy is like talk to the Palestinians, talk to the world, tell everyone that you want peace, but then make facts on the ground, build more settlements, transfer the population, which is, as you know, a violation of the Fourth Geneva Convention, to transfer the populations. And he was doing it. So it's not something new that he is. But as a representative of the United States, he's using word for word the talking points of Yitzhak Shamir, now Benjamin Netanyahu. That's number one. Number two, the conference, the deal of the century, or the beginning of that the deal of the century, the launch in Manama, Bahrain, right? Manama in Arabic, the word Manama, this is why the city was named Al Manama, which means the resting place where people sleep over. And this is where the deal, everybody is just going to sleep over it, and nothing is going to happen.
Exactly.
And they tried to spin it that it was a success or semi-successful. It's all nonsense. It just was a waste of time, a bunch of hot air. They got a couple of stooges to sing and dance to their tunes. Not a single Palestinian supports it. No one respects it. Even the people who attended it, they don't believe their own words. So he should find another audience to tell his, baloney story about this whole concept. It was a total failure. This should go down as one of Donald Trump / Kushner's biggest foreign policy failures of the century.
Well, that's quite a statement, Jamal, because there's a lot of them, including, and we didn't have time to talk about this today, including what's happening with Turkey that's deciding to lean into Russia away from the United States, getting out of the Iran deal, and getting out of the Paris Climate Accord. But on that note, which are equal big, catastrophic foreign policy failures. But on that note, we have to say goodbye again, Jamal. You've been listening to Arab Talk on KPOO in San Francisco at 89.5 FM. You can follow us at our website and podcasts at ArabTalkRadio.com. And also follow us on Jamal's website at Jamal Dajani 2, where he posts all of these materials, and his Twitter site, which you can read all of the material that we've been talking about today. Hey, Jamal, thanks a lot. I know it's late over there in your undisclosed location.
It's not that undisclosed, but we will talk next week right here on KPO San Francisco 89.5 FM.
We'll see you next week.